This is an iceberg of internet mysteries. I explore one topic per video, starting from the most well-known mysteries at the top to the most obscure at the bottom. Let's begin. Down the iceberg we go, to the year 2001, to a message board little known to the world, where a man named John Titor left this. Greetings. I am a time traveler from the year 2036. I am on my way home after getting an IBM 5100 computer system from the year 1975, and thus marks the mystery of John Titor. Who was he, and was he really a time traveler? Well, of course not. This was all a hoax, but what makes John Titor so interesting isn't really the idea that he's real and legit, but his story was so captivating that it inspired many people throughout the world, including Steins Gate, the anime. Here is a little bit of history of where he came from the perspective of the average Joe. He first appeared by sending 2 faxes to a guy named Art Bell, who ran a paranormal radio show back in 1998. He then appeared in chat rooms online in the year 2000, claiming to be a time traveler, and then expanded his horizons by venturing out into a couple different message boards online, and these forums and chat rooms were mostly time travel related. And by March of 2001 he disappeared, never to be heard of again, supposedly going back to the future like McFly. There now exists about 300 pages of him interacting with people online. It's been archived and it's available for viewing. And it's a lot of reading, folks. And within this archive, he discusses everything. So who was he and who did he claim to be? Well, he claims he was a time traveler from the year 2036, where he lived in a post-apocalyptic world in the aftermath of World War III, of where over 3 billion people were killed. And his story is full of woe, melancholy and depressive ends, where the love of his life died from radiation due to the war, and he's been bitter of it ever since. He went into great detail explaining exactly what happened, including China retaking Taiwan, Israel winning one of the largest battles it's ever fought, and the United States falling into civil war. Now, all of this might sound like it resonates with us today, but here's the thing. He claimed all of this started in 2005, and a full war broke out by 2015. Now, of course, none of that happened, and so he was full of crap, to put it bluntly. But with that aside, he said he needed to go back in time to retrieve an IBM 5100. The reason he needed to go back in time to get the computer is too complex for me to understand, so I'll just read it from his own words to you. Unix will have a timeout error in 2038, and many of the mainframe systems that ran a large part of the infrastructure were based on very old IBM code. The 5100 has the ability to easily translate between the old IBM code, APL, BASIC, and, with a few tweaks in 1975, Unix. This may seem insignificant, but the fact that the 5100 is portable means I can easily take it back to 2036. And so that explains that, I suppose. Now, there is one true interesting thing that he did say. In 2038, the time on most computers will reset to 0. This is because of how time is stored inside of computers. This is very similar to the Y2K problem from the year 2000. Now, thankfully, we are fixing that problem now, and come the time that it would be a problem, it probably won't be. Moving on, he claimed that his time machine was placed in a 1967 Chevy, and all he had to do was jump in his car, turn the time machine on, and get flying like Marty McFly. He posted not only pictures, but schematics of his time machine, in addition to excerpts from a manual that was given to him by the military on how to run it. And he went into so much detail and such depth that people believe he must have been a real physicist. Here are some pictures of his supposed time manual that was given to him by the military. We can see the introduction for this manual. It's called a gravity distortion time displacement units. dated 2034. And in the next picture, we can see something much more detailed, appropriate for people familiar with mathematics, which I am not. Now we have a much more detailed picture of the time machine in schematic form. This is one look at his time travel units, and then this second one, very low quality, is a picture he claimed he took in 2035 during his training. I guess apparently cameras weren't any better then than they were in the past. Moving on, I won't be covering in depth the details of how time travel works according to John Titor, but very briefly, he claims that in order to time travel, you must bend gravity. And to do this, his time machine creates two black holes, but very, very tiny ones, microscopic, and he calls these black holes micro-singularities. And by doing so, this somehow allows him to go back in time. In his explanation of events of how time travel works, he believed in the many-world theory, meaning if you go back in time, you're creating a new timeline in a new universe, and as thus, there's an unlimited number of universes that exist. But it will only be different by about 2.5%. This means small things will be different, such as new models of cars that never existed before, buildings that never existed before, and maybe books that people loved, like Harry Potter, don't exist. But these changes would only amount to about 2.5% difference, and so most things will remain the same. But still, none of his predictions came true, and if you want to play by the 2.5% rule, then 97.5% of things that you talk about must come true. But alas, they didn't. But this story would have made for a great novel and entertained many people, and so many wanted to know who made this story, who was behind the hoax, and perhaps that's the real mystery. Well, there's widespread belief that John Titor was manufactured by a guy called Lawrence Haber, an entertainment lawyer based in Florida, along with his brother Maury, who was a computer expert. This is according to an Italian TV show whom hired a private investigator. And there's so many things linking him to John Titor. For example, Larry Haber is the CEO of the for-profit John Titor Foundation, which was established in 2003 and holds a copyright on the military insignia that Titor stated was the symbol of his 177th military units. In addition, Harry Haber also claimed to represent John Titor's mother. However, the mother has never been seen in the flesh. There's also an individual called Joseph Matheny, whom was the creator of one of the very first online alternate reality games, which is called Ong's Hat. A very interesting mystery in and of itself. But according to this guy, he said he helped create the character John Titor by being a consultant for the people behind the fake time traveler. And that makes perfect sense because Joseph successfully pulled off a very elaborate and successful online hoax back in the day. And here's what people are saying on Reddit. This guy says John Titor was probably just an internet troll looking for attention. Perhaps true. This person claims he was on the forums when it was happening real time, and he found it pretty thrilling, real or not. There were believers and there were skeptics, but the story was riveting. Literature loves the fact that Steingate is deeply based on the story of John Titor, and Thrasher XXX is in no mood for BS. He says bluntly, utterly fake story, debunked and archived. That's it. And so I'm curious, what do you think about this story? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. As per usual, so much more could be said, but we have many more mysteries to get to. In the next episode, we dive deep into a picture from 1964 that has within it something that's gonna shock you.